Welcome to Beach Life Unlocked, episode number 17. Mitchell David here with Mike Dotson. Today we're going to expose a myth that once you're under contract and you have a pre-approval, that all your financing worries are over.
Done deal.
Done deal, finished. Sign the contract.
Sign here.
We're done, finished. Is that true?
No, absolutely not.
No, it's so far from true.
No, honestly, with financing especially, you're just getting started. Once you're under contract, you have that pre-approval. There's so many, especially as a buyer, there's so many requirements for a buyer, providing documents, and then providing documents again, and then the same documents,
and then
the same documents for a third time to make sure that the first time you sent them, they were accurate.
Yeah. So for full disclosure, if you're watching, finding the property used to be the hardest part. It's not. Financing, to me, honestly, is the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, I mean, it put a lot of rules and regulations in place because of what some people were doing with lending.
There was a time when you could settle on a property and walk with money in your pocket. It is, dude. That was back in the early 2000s. It's true.
And then what happened in 2008?
And they crashed. So look, these rails that they've created are for all of our benefit, for sure. But man, they put a huge speed bump in the transaction.
Yeah, but I mean, the hurdles are easy to get over as long as you're keeping to your time frames, your timelines, and providing everything that your lender's asking in a timely fashion. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. It's all about timing.
Well, let's do this. Let's think about this for a second. So if you're planning on buying a property, you might want to start getting your finances in order now, right?
For sure.
Right, because look, a pre-approval for the most part is a phone call, a conversation with the lender,
quick check,
you go your credit report, maybe a basic verification of your monies. But other than that, that's it.
Yeah.
You're not providing.
Once you're under contract is when the process really starts. They start digging into your finances. What kind of debt do you have? What kind of income?
Yep.
Are you making?
That ratio.
Yeah. What's the ratio there? It gets pretty involved.
Yeah, I mean, and that's if you're a W-2 employee. Think if you're a 1099. 1099 is those who work for themselves and don't issue themselves. Then the hurdle becomes even greater.
Yeah, congratulations on owning a business.
Yeah.
Now you have more hurdles to jump over.
More hurdles. And, again, these are real life things that Mike and I see every day. And so, beginner, remembering the contract. If you're asking for financing, there's going to be some addenda that you're going to probably be checking. There's going to be some timelines that you're going to be agreeing to that are super important that you have got to make sure that you abide by.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest, just real quickly, the first one is application. Once you're under contract, then that's when you make application for your loan.
Full application, yep.
Yeah, full application. Typically within the first week of being under contract. And then you have your financing approval.
Right. With contingencies, yeah.
Typically, they come with contingencies. A couple things they need to verify. Also an appraisal.
Yep, appraisal.
What comes along with the financing, and then whether or not it appraises. Then at that point you may start a new negotiation with a seller, right? I mean, if it comes in under contract price, and you're not willing to bridge that gap with cash, then you're back to the negotiating table.
Yeah, or if you're buying in a condo association or an HOA, then there's a whole separate part of underwriting for the financing that they want to make sure that their questionnaires are answered properly. So they need ample time to get that done. So to Mike's point, I mean, typically application 5 to 7 days needs to be done. If you don't do your written application and the listing agent's on their game,
cancel the contract.
They can cancel your contract.
Especially if you're in a strong market, strong seller market, they have options. If you're not providing them or doing what you're supposed to be doing, they can find a new buyer.
Let me say this again. Yeah, this is important. Let me say this again. You have a window to make application. And so a lot of times a buyer may come to us and go, hey, I'm going to use this person, this lender. And then they're like, well, we're under contract now. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to shop it around.
Yeah.
Look, great. You can use legally whomever you wish to use, and Mike and I will not steer you in that direction. We'll give you local lenders that we recommend, but ultimately it's your choice. You don't have that done within 7 days, make formal application. and the listing agent reaches out to us as buyer's agents, to Mike's point,
You don't have your application in?
yeah,
You don't have a contract.
you have a contract, you're done.
I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
They can cancel you. They could give you grace and allow you to make application or give you a time frame, but they don't have to. And that's what Mike was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're not sticking to the dates on the contract, they can cancel it. I mean, you're in default.
You're in default of the contract. And so part of the contract also, remember, is you have an EMD, an earnest money deposit. And that's good faith saying, hey, listen, we are going to execute this in a timely manner, do what we're supposed to do. And hey, by the way, if we don't, we're default, we're going to forfeit those monies to you, right?
Yeah.
That's, in layman's term, that's how that works.
So if you're not sticking to your timeline, your dates, you could lose that money. And depending on, I mean, typically around here, we see 1% to 2%. Some people are willing to put up a little bit more to show that they're serious. But if you're really serious, you better make sure you're sticking to your dates, because that money can become the sellers, and they can put the property back on the market and resell it.
Absolutely.
Sell it to someone else.
And again, this is strategy. And so I'll just say, as a buyer's agent, Mike and I want you to have less money exposed in the EMD. And as a listing agent, we want as much money in play, right, online in play, because obviously you have $30,000 in play, you're probably less likely to default.
Yeah, you're going to make sure you're sticking to your dates. And
you have $500. What are you going to lose for $500, right?
I don't want to lose $500.
None of us want to lose $500, but the point is, it's the threshold there is a lot less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what other types of financing things should you really be thinking about?
I think for us being in Ocean City, I think the biggest thing we run into is people want to use big lenders, right? Big banks, which some of them can finance a condo.
They can.
Most of them are going to push back because they want to do the easiest loans possible. So having a local lender, somebody that's in town, knows Ocean City, knows the area, I think is key. Number one, like I said, because they know the area, but number two, also because you can call them on the phone.
That's right.
We can get a hold of them. Somebody at Bank of America could be sitting in a cubicle in Texas, impossible to get a hold of, right? So you really don't know where they are in the process. As long as you're keeping up with your end, everything should be fine, but
well, and the key here for us is that Mike and I form relationships with the local lenders. So again, remember, our goal is to help you advance to get to clear to close. So if there is a hiccup, if we know the person or people involved, we're able to help facilitate whatever the issue is. If it's somebody in Texas that is, you're one of a million customers, I'm sorry, there's not much I'm going to be able to do for you.
I mean, you can send emails and calls all day, but
been there, done that. I mean, we're going to be honest. I mean, look, can they do the loans? Yes, they can get the loans done. I just did one where I told the buyer on a specific property, I knew their lender was not going to get it done. I was 99.9% positive.
what happened?
They didn't get it done. The buyer backed out, and they were super upset they'd lost out on the property. Now, could we have pivoted and gone to a local lender? We could have, but unfortunately, that's not where the buyer wanted to go. And plus, the seller was pretty much done with us. So at that point in time, they had to move on. So, be wary who you choose.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that within the time frames, there's also other things that you really have to be careful on, and that's spending money.
Yeah, don't go buy a new car.
No, seriously, don't buy a car.
Racking up credit card debt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say it again and again. Don't buy a new car. Don't. And you're like, nobody would ever do that. Yes, they do, all the time.
I'm dealing with it now.
Right now. Right now.
Buyer went out and bought a new car.
And it's not like we don't tell this people this. It's not like the local lender who we're using didn't tell them this.
Did we?
You've got to understand that's going to change your debt ratio dramatically. Because what people don't understand, and I'm going to be out of my area just a little bit here, but understand there's certain loans that you have on the books that are close to being matured, and so they don't actually count towards your debt income ratio, right?
Right.
But that new loan, she gonna count.
Yeah, all of it, every bit of it.
Every bit of it. And if you could drop below that threshold, guess what?
You're not eligible for that loan any longer.
So all of a sudden, you're going to get a letter of, hey, by the way, we can't do your loan for you.
Because your debt to income's too high.
That's right. And and again, we're not attorneys, but we're going to say this: the listing agent's going to want to know why you can't get the loan, and the lender's going to have to provide a letter. So depending on what's said in that letter, could put you at risk not only for EMD loss, but you for other financial losses to that seller.
Yeah, they find out you bought a car in that transaction. I mean, if I was a listing agent, I found that out. That's just
Negligence.
That's just you threw the deal away for what? You could have waited until after you bought the condo or whatever house to buy that, or don't buy a new car.
Oh, and here's another one that happens all the time: changing jobs.
Yeah,
people are in the middle of it, and
but I'm making more money.
But here's the problem. Again, your new job, I want to say it's 6 months you have to be, if it's a W-2 job where they can track your pay stubs. If you're a 1099 and you own your business, is it 2 years?
I think it's minimum 2 years. I think you have to be in business for 2 years.
Business in 2 years. So again, what we're trying to say to you is this: if you're serious about buying, you get your ducks in a row. A signed contract and a pre-approval means nothing at the end of the day, except now the work actually begins.
Yes.
And the work really should have begun earlier by you putting together all your documents, making sure you don't need any big purchases.
Eating ramen noodles.
Eating ramen noodles.
As much money as you can.
Isn't so again, for this topic, this conversation, for you new buyers, you buyers who haven't done it in a long time, look, the work begins now.
Yeah, well, once you're under contract and, you got to.
Now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you want to buy, you need to start now. So again, if you have questions or you actually want Mike and I to show you a checklist of items that you probably need to get together or you should get together, look, call us, text us, email us, reach out to us. We're always available for that conversation. I mean, Mike and I probably spend 20% of our day just having conversations with people who call out to us for information.
Educating people.
People, and that's what's so important on this. So again, if you need us, we're here for you. If you want to visit our website, go to
beachlife.oceancity.com.
See you soon. Thanks.